Hello and welcome back, Box1 here, and today we're going to be looking at this. This is the LEGO Ninjago Temple of Airjitzu, set 70751. It released in 2015 and has a whole bunch of minifigures, and we're going to be looking at those today, as well as the build, and finally, the outrageous price you have to pay for it now. And the first thing that people talk about, and the first thing we'll be talking about when they see the set, is the figures. And they have 12 figures in this set, all of which are pretty good. The only one I don't think is really unique or anything like that is Claire, which is this one right here. And she is just made up of common minifigure pieces, but the other ones are pretty interesting. These are all the civilians in this set, or like not very involved with the ninja. We have Jasper in the middle. He's pretty cool. I do quite like him. He has a nice cowboy hat. And then the mailman, which is a very iconic figure or character in the show. Jasper is a pretty cool figure. We'll take him out first and look at him, if it will try and focus. He has a little smiley face on him and a pretty cool little clothes details. He works in the shop, the food shop, which we'll be looking at next, or in a little while. The mailman is also pretty cool. He has a little bugle on him, and his little, whatever you call this thing, to hold his mail, and it's pretty cool. Satchel, I guess. It's pretty cool figures. I quite like the civilian figures in this set. Claire's the only really bland one, but the rest of the figures are pretty unique, and I quite like the mailman especially, because you don't get many figures in purple. The next figure in the set is this very nicely decorated Sensei Wu figure, and he has a very cool torso. He has some gold detailing on him. I'll pick him up and show you his back printing as well, which he does have a nice little like flower or something on the back. You can kind of see that there, and it does have that very nice shine because of the gold. And I really like this figure. He goes on average online for about $10, maybe up to $12, but he's a pretty cheap figure, all things considered, but still pretty nice. Very cool. The next figure we have here is Misako, and she's pretty cool. She also has a very cool hairpiece in that dark gray. I believe this was the only set she appeared in at the time, and I think it stayed that way for a little while. She appeared in some later sets, in the rebooted Legacy versions, but she looks very cool here. She has a paint palette, a paintbrush, and pretty simple printing, but overall, a pretty cool figure. We can now get into the ninja with the first and only one in this color scheme, being Nia. And I quite like this color scheme. It is a very cool light blue. I'll try to get the glare off her. A very cool light blue with dark red. And I think that works very well for her. I quite like her printing as well. The gold accents is also a nice thing you get on this figure specifically. The other figures have more black on them. But I like her gold shoulder pads. And she does have this very nice sword holder. And through it, if we'll focus, you can see her element, which is water. And that's very, very cool. She's just a simple Nia figure otherwise, and is pretty cool. The next figure is Deep Stone J, and we'll angle him again because the glare is crazy. He's pretty cool. He looks pretty good. He's not very expensive, but he is a pretty cool figure, and I quite like him in general. He has little ninja stars in his belt, and then on the back you can also see his element there, which is lightning. And yeah, very simple J figure, but pretty cool in this color, and I also like his black sword, which the rest of the ninjas also get. The next ninja up is Cole, and he has a very cool, kind of like orange, gray, and black color scheme. He has some little orange accents for Earth, and you can see, if you actually take his sword out, I'll just do it up here, so, oh, come on, there we go. You can see his element there. I'm kind of blocked by the sword there, but a very cool figure, but a very simple one. The next figure, Kai, is also pretty cool. He has this very nice red color scheme, of course. And otherwise, he's pretty much similar to the rest, but he does have his element on the back being fire, and is a pretty cool little figure. Very nice. The next figure up, and one I'll actually have to take his little hat off there, or not hat, but mask off for, is Zane. He's a very cool figure, and I actually really like his helmet, or his, I keep calling him helmet, the mask. It has a very nice color scheme with the white and the black in that color. But yeah, this is actually quite an expensive one. This is up to $30 or upwards of $30 and is a double-sided head actually. So he has his Ninjoid head there, and he also has this very unique one, which I don't think appears very often. It's this kind of blue or weird version of it. And I think that actually looks pretty cool. I usually just have him displayed like that because it's more obvious what he is, but I quite like this figure, and it makes sense that he's up to $30 because he's just a very cool looking one. I was debating whether I should put this guy second to last or last, and I decided to put him second to last since the next figure is quite expensive. But this is Dareth, a very cool figure that was at one point pretty expensive. I believe he's still about $20, but he's pretty cool. He has a very nice hairpiece there. You can see that. That's very nice. That could be used on many Elvis-looking mocks if it was in black and stuff like that. He also carries a piece of bread, although that goes in the store that we'll look at soon. And he has some very simple printing. He's not very detailed of a figure, but I think this was the first or second time that we got him. So a very cool inclusion. And the next figure is Lloyd, the final figure actually, and he is quite an expensive one. We'll talk about that in a second, but you can see a very nice green color scheme. I think he looks very cool in the deep stone version of his outfit, and he also has his element on his back, which is, of course, green. And yeah, he's pretty cool. He has a very nice sword, and you want to know the crazy thing? He's going up to $70 to $100 depending on the condition, and since mine's in basically perfect condition, it would be over $100. So, very cool, and definitely the most expensive figure in the set. And it took over 5 minutes to just look at the figures. We're going to be looking at the side builds quickly. They're very quick and simple. This is the first one. It is Jay's weird little flying contraption. It uses these two old bat wings, which was also used on some dragons in the Fright Nights theme, and some spears. Very simple, weird little contraption here. And he can simply sit on there like that. Very simple. The second side build is this very simple fireworks launcher that looks very bright on camera for some reason. It is, yeah, there we go, that's a more realistic look. And it just simply has a very nice stud shooter, and you simply turn it to activate it, and those are hitting the camera actually. But I'm not going to do, I'll try and do all of them. It's slower with one hand to do this than it is if you're doing it all at once. Very cool. And with the very nice figure selection out of the way, we can get onto the builds, which are also pretty nice. Now we can actually separate these modularly, if that's a word. Yeah, you can take the bridge off. These are simply on pins. I'll see if I can do it with one hand. Actually, they're connected right here. I don't know if I'm going to do it with one hand. There we go. These just come off, so we're going to be looking at them separate from the actual temple, and then we'll be looking at it all again at the end once it's all together again. But yeah, we have a very nice little food storage or food shop. We have a very nice blacksmith shop, and then we have the actual temple of Airjitzu itself. So, I do hope you'll enjoy, and we can now get into the builds. And the first build, the simplest one, and we'll kind of skim through this one fast. It's a little dusty. Ooh. But this is the bridge. It's very simple. I really just like these. These dragon pieces came in a couple sets. Light gray is an interesting color for them to be in, or light bluish gray, I should say. And I also have some in dark green. But this is a very cool thing. It uses these very nice elements here for the bridge, which are kind of like these weird Snap looking pieces. If you don't know what Snap is, it's an old Lego theme. But those are very weird and very cool to have included. And I think it looks like a pretty good bridge. I actually like how that looks. It is kind of simplistic, and the actual bridge itself isn't too interesting. But I do like how the railings look at the very least. Very simple. It simply just connects the two sides of the build thingy. Next building we can look at is this very unique looking one. This is the food area, as I said before. It has a lot of food in there. I'll show you in a second, but we'll look at the exterior first. It has a very nice little water area, which is where the bridge connects. The bridge actually just sits on here. You saw that in the beginning. I'll show you again at the end. It has some fishing poles with a crab on it, and that's pretty cool. I like the fishing pole elements. You don't get any string for them, like you do in some other sets, but still very cool to include. You also get 2 chickens, and you get 2 chickens to put right outside, and just kind of liven it up a bit. On the front of the outside, you do get some very nice stickered pieces there. One with the fish up there, and that, I believe, is actually the kanji for fish, or it's at least very similar to the kanji in Japanese for fish. And then also just some stuff like bread up there. But yeah, we have the 2 little statues in the front. I don't know if I mentioned them. And a very cool looking exterior using these very interesting clips there that you don't see very often. But you get this very nice roof design using garage door panels, which is an interesting idea, but it works, and don't mind the dust. It's on black pieces, it's very noticeable. But yeah, it works very well, and you can see there's two actual layers here. And the top one actually does have a cool feature. If the colors will cooperate here, you can actually open this and see there's a chest inside. Now, there's a chest on actually either side of this, and you can simply flip these up and grab oh, that one actually got stuck in there. Oops. And you can see what these chests have in them. It's just simply 2 shurikens, and then 2 golden knives, which is pretty cool, and a pirate sword. Very nice. You can kind of see how the chests actually sit in there when looking in the back, if it will focus. It's not focusing. There we go. It took a little while, but you can also see this very cool design here with the little market looking area. There's a hook over here. You can hang something. And this very cool, like, open design, which is an interesting choice, but I actually really like how it turned out. In there, we can actually just look through here. There's a thing full of bread. There would be 3 breadsticks, but Dareth is actually holding one. There are 3 apples, 2 in red, 1 in that light green color. There's also a little miner's helmet used as a sink, which is a very cool design. And I actually really like those miner's helmets, so that's pretty cool to get. There's a barrel, which we can now flip it around to get easier viewing, with 2 fish in it. And then we also get a thing full of cookies. There's actually 2 cookies in there, and I believe that would actually have some letters in that, but I'll be looking at that later in the video, so you'll get to see that then. But overall, a very cool little build. And I think the color scheme as well, that being this nice sand green color, is a very great inclusion to this set, and I think it does add quite a bit. Also, you get a very cool piece with that fence piece in that sand green color, if it will focus on that back there. Very cool. The second building in the set is the blacksmith shop, and although it's a bit simpler, it's not as cool in terms of design, it does have some cool stuff in it. And we can see on the door, it does have this very nice printed, well, not printed, but stickered piece there, kind of looking like a nice window there on the door. And then we also have this very nice sign for the blacksmith shop. I believe it is double-sided, yes, with some stickers. A lot of stickers in the set, not very many prints, but either way, it's still very cool. You get the attachment point to the temple here, and then you get some trees, which is a very cool little inclusion. It has this orange and red one, another orange one, and then on the other side, it has some orange trees as well, with another one of those little red leaves. And you get some very nice star pieces. Don't mind the dust. With the, I don't know why it's so dusty. I've had it in storage for a long time, so I don't know. But I tried to clean it even, and it's caked. I'll have to do something about that soon, but it's, sorry. A very cool build either way. You get this upstairs area on the interior with a nothing in it, and a chimney on the back. But then you see where the chimney goes down to. It's actually a very nice first floor. We'll try and get the camera in there so you can kind of see what there is. There is a shovel and a hammer on this side. There's a bucket. There's a mug, and then there's a furnace. Very simple. There's also the anvil in the middle. You may have seen that. And if you open the door, it does kind of make it a bit more interesting as well. And then on the wall, there's actually something. There's like a light, which is actually using an old scuba diver, like harpoon gun or whatever you'd call that to actually make it, which is a very cool design. And you can get a top-down view by simply taking off the roof, and yeah, very simple, and kind of show you what I was talking about with the scuba diver gun there. That's a pretty cool piece. You do get that in a couple sets. There was the original Clone Battle Pack, or I believe actually the second one they made had that. Maybe it was the third. The second one with the Phase 1 clones. Very cool, and quite interesting piece to have in here. And while it is a very much simple build, I do think it looks good, and I think the actual color scheme works for this one as well. Very nice. And with that out of the way, we can now look at the major build, the actual temple pagoda thingy. And it's very cool, just to say the least. The outside itself has a lot of cool elements, so let's look at that first, then we'll take a look at the inside. It is a facade, kind of. You only get the front, or not really a facade, but you only get the front and the 2 fronts to it. You don't get a back, which is fine, because you do also get a lot of interior there. But we'll look at the front first, as I said. We get this fountain in the middle using a very cool wagon wheel piece on the bottom in that very nice goldy color. And we also get a statue. I believe it was of the first Ninjitsu master, but I could be wrong. It could just be a random statue. But it does use a very nice silvery, or whatever you'd call that, metallic silver headpiece, hat. Very nice there. We do have some simple little writings on there on these three. They are not the same, but they are pretty cool. I do not know if they're real kanji or if they're made up. They do look real, like real kanji, but I also don't know much kanji, so oops. These steps leading up to the door are pretty cool. As you can see, they're just these simple stone stairs, but you do get a very nice printed element for the door, and I believe it's upside down. Again, oops. The other way one is the right way around. I do not know how I managed that, and I don't think I can fix that without tearing this thing apart. So, it's going to stick that way for a little while. Another piece I wanted to call attention to is these little rings on top of the little posts here. You can kind of see them. They're in that very nice chrome gold, which I believe is the only piece LEGO still chromes, which is great, because I really like chrome pieces, and it's great to have some. You also get an extra, so I just put it on my Lord of the Rings figure that I have. It's the really expensive Hobbit guy, but I thought that was cool. Anyway, we can move to the second story, and we have these very cool little awnings, or whatever you'd call them, and those kind of just sit out over here. They're simply attached with Technic stuff. You can kind of see the Technic thing going in there. But yeah, they could lead up to these very cool windows, which are all printed elements, so you do get a bunch of these in this set, and they look very, very cool. I forget how many you get. You can kind of tell. That's 16. That's 12 plus. That's 12. So it would be 28, I believe. Plus you get an extra, so 29. Very cool. And then leading up to the top floor, you already saw. It's pretty similar, but it's pretty cool either way. And then you get the final roof. The roof with the big little thingy on it. The big little thingy. Yes, yes. Very good English by me. But we can move up here, and you can see there's just this very cool spire at the top. We can now get into the interior, and by getting into the interior, I'm going to go from the top down, just because I think the thing at the bottom floor is the coolest. Let's first take off the roof. You can actually just pry this thing off, and usually rip that off as well, but you do get access to a cool little chest. Now this is Cole's little chest here, or box, or crate, and you can actually simply open this up, and there's a hairbrush and a camera inside. Very cool. It does have some cool elements on there. There's the Cole stuff hands-off element. Why do I call it element? Sticker. Very simple, but very cool. The second floor, or I guess the third floor up here, or fourth floor, is this kind of little painting area, which Misako can sit in and paint. There's this very cool little drawing on this, and it has just some trees, some clouds, and some random paint splotches on there. There's also a glass where you can put your water, and then there's 3 books over there, which do have stuff in them. There's also this little element here, which I believe was to that, where I said there was supposed to be letters in the shop. It's like a trading card for Sensei Wu, which is kind of interesting, and I kind of like that. Now, opening up the books, you can see one has this very simple but very common printed element. That's seen in a lot of Star Wars sets. I know it's in Kanan's speeder bike chase set. You also get these 2 letters. Now, this one's supposed to go with the mailman, and this is another one of those trading cards that goes in the food shop. But keeping it in here kind of keeps it safe from getting lost. So that's, I guess, what I did. And I actually really like those. These are cool. I'm going to take off the Sensei Wu so you can see that as well. That's kind of like the rare version, and then you get the common card. I really like that. I wish they did more with that. Very cool. The next floor here is this kind of dojo area. You do get a nice stickered element for the front of the dummy with some like cuts on it and scratches. You get a nice tan, basic tan head, no printing on it, for the top of the dummy and a skeleton foot for the bottom. You get a bow, 2 katanas, and that's pretty much it. It does have this now very nice stickered floor, and I forgot on the top it also has a stickered floor, which is slightly cooler. And this one's a bit just simpler. I mean, it's a dojo. It's not going to be too safe to put some cool designs on there, so it makes sense. But that's pretty much it. It's a very simple floor and doesn't have too much to it. The first floor has, or the ground floor, I guess it would be. Oh no, there's the floor below it. So this would be the first floor. Has this. It's a very simple little tea spot. There's maybe some food in the bowl and then some tea. For Sensei Wu, of course, because he needs to sit down and meditate in this little room. It has some very nice sand blue colorings in there. I like sand blue. I like all the sand colors. I don't have any sand purple or sand red, or I have one sand red. Sand purple, and then there's another sand color I don't have, but a very cool little room. Very nice. And the bottom floor is a bit cramped. Now, you may say, what is this? This is a very weird looking thing. And this is actually a plastic piece, which is a simple plastic piece. And then on the other side, there's a crank. Now, you may see it's a bit offset. It's not exactly flush. And that's because you can push this in. If you push on the crank. How do you push this in? Like that. And it lights up. It looks better if I turn off the flash. And you can see if it will focus on that, which it's having a hard time doing as always. You can actually turn the crank back here, as you can. Oops. You can turn if it pushes itself out. That's going to be a problem. So you gotta kind of push in on it while you're doing that. But you can kind of turn it and have a little scene here, like a shadow scene, where the serpent of the Great Devourer or something is kind of getting into a battle against these two. Which is a very cool, and it uses a light brick here. This is the only light brick you get in the set, and it's a very cool little light brick. There is an easy way to take it out as well. So say your light brick dies, you can simply take off the staircase, and you can already see the light brick there, and you can kind of just take this off, and then you may need a tool to actually get onto that. Maybe I can use the bush. See if I can... Well, you can get it out through there if you probably want to use a Technic axle to actually pull it out. Or maybe I can do it. Let's see. I don't have fingernails right now, so kind of hard. There we go. Simple light brick. Blind you a little bit. Very cool. And a very cool little feature here. I just really like that. And the light show here is by far my favorite part of this entire temple. And if it didn't mean taking this entire thing apart, I'd show you how they do it, but it is very hard to get it back together. I can kind of bring this down, and kind of maybe move this out of the way, although it's kind of up there, so I don't think I can. But there's simply 2 nano figures in there, and then a snake piece. I forget what color it's in. It's probably in the instructions. And you can see it as dark red nano figures, and then you also get a, I believe, just normal red snake. So you can use that. There's also a rubber band in there, kind of just working everything in there. And there's a lot of cool elements that goes into that. It's a very Technic-heavy thing, but it's a very cool mechanism once it's done. And that's pretty much it for the big temple, pagoda. And, yeah, it's definitely a worthy centerpiece for this thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I really do hope you enjoyed, and this is it back together again so you can see it all finally. My opinion on this set is it's definitely worth it. It's so cool. It's massive as well. It probably doesn't show on camera how big it is. I'll kind of show it next to a minifigure. It's really, really tall. Like really big, and it's a great thing for a shelf. I don't know about picking it up for $500 because that's about the average, even upwards of $700 for it used. But it's a very cool set, and I definitely recommend, if you could get a good deal on it, getting it, because it's just amazing. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed. This is a set I've been wanting to show for a while. I've just had it in storage and couldn't, but now I got it out, and, yeah, very nice. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you next time, where we'll probably be looking at a game. So I shall see you then, and goodbye.